potentially good evening. For all of those joining us here, welcome to this session. Today we will be talking about the unlocking of the power of NetSuite Analytics Warehouse. We'll be explaining a few interesting topics for you today, so feel free to fire across your questions as and when they come to mind. So a bit of an intro then from my side. I am Adel. I'm the lead solutions consultant at Celigo covering the EMEA region. I will hand over to my co-presenter today, Brecht, for a brief intro from his side.
Hi everyone, my name is Brecht. I'm the tech director at Novutech, and today I'm here to tell you something more about the NetSuite Analytics Warehouse and I guess the power that can unlock into your business.
Indeed, so we have an exciting topic to discuss, and I'm very proud to be here with Brecht today to speak about this. Right then, so on to our next slide here. So just to start having the juices flowing in your mind, can anyone think about what these stats might be? Post those across in comments if you have any. I'll just give a few seconds for people to do that. If you don't have any thoughts on that, that's not a problem. I will, of course, be explaining what these are, but it's just to get your juices flowing in terms of explaining what these actually might be. I will give you a bit of a hint. They are related to commerce, and they, of course, are related to the topic, the title of the slide itself. So I'll give a bit of a few seconds here. Not seeing anything yet. Perhaps people are still considering what the options are there. Oh, we have a different slide. What happened there? We have a different share. There we go. All right, now we're back on track. A few technical glitches there, but that's all good. All right, so moving on. These stats are from a report from Harvard Business Review, as you can see there on the right-hand side. I was reading this fairly recently, and it's about, as you'll see there in the source, it says narrowing the customer experience divide through IT solutions. Now, the whole point of this is just to illustrate that we've been talking about having customer centricity for quite some time, for a few years now. And yet this report actually demonstrates that 51% of the respondents to this survey actually say that they want the ability to predict customer preferences, behaviors, and of course, needs. Now, 45% say that they want it in a single unified view of customers across all different channels, and in this case being sales channels or even business systems that are being used. 44%, pardon me, want capabilities that enable the creation of personalized customer experiences. Now, one important thing to note about all this is that this report is from 2020. We're in 2024, and yet there are still these challenges that were being faced. So we're going to be talking to you today about one of the ways you can accomplish this within your organization. Now, speaking of which, if we move over to the agenda slide, we'll get a bit of introduction or explanation. There we go, customer centricity. There's a bit of animation there just to show things there and illustrate the fact that it is all about customer centricity. But moving on to the agenda slide, this is what we will be talking about today. So naturally, it's NetSuite's Analytics Warehouse. So we'll be introducing the topic as well as covering off use case and example scenario as well. We'll also go into a bit of detail of how you enhance the data and analytics strategy using Celigo. For those that might not be aware, Celigo is an integration platform as a service, which I will introduce later on. Of course, we'll also do a showcase of Celigo itself for NetSuite Analytics Warehouse. And then last, but certainly by no means least, is where do we go beyond the Analytics Warehouse, of course, with Novutech here. So that's really what we're going to be covering off today. And at this point, I will hand over to Brecht to get us started on that journey.
Thank you, Adel. So I would like to take some time as well to just talk a little bit more about ourselves, about Novutech. Some of the audience might already know us or might even already be a customer of Novutech. But for the ones that I guess don't, we are an Oracle NetSuite partner. So we're a solution provider of Oracle NetSuite. We're doing 100% NetSuite implementation. So our focus is really on NetSuite and, of course, everything that is around NetSuite. So that's, of course, why Celigo is also in this call, because I guess it's a great fit to be able to integrate data with NetSuite. We're an EMEA partner, which means that we're represented in Europe. And we have different offices across Europe, which are here on the slide, with our newest addition being our German office in Munich. So you can see we're well represented in Europe, and we have teams across all of these countries and speak a lot of languages. So we really cover a lot of Europe. Our expertise, I guess, of what we do is we're very good in international finance and accounting. We have a team even focused on accounting, our accounting experts, as we like to call them. We cover multiple verticals of different type of customers. Our majority of customers now are software SaaS companies, service company, but we also have a lot of product-based wholesale and commerce customers as well. And we also now have a lot of sort of customers that are backed VC-backed businesses that come to us, I guess, with their new NetSuite implementations and with their new logos that we try to offer. We offer, as I say, new implementation projects. We also do a lot of optimization work, which can be system developments, can be integration work, anything like that for existing NetSuite customers. We obviously also have a big support team as well. A lot of the consultants also are our support consultants that can help with support and have a very wide range of support capabilities that can go from fixing bugs, fixing scripts, fixing processes, but also, of course, the likes like extra training for new users that might be joining your company. All of that is also covered in our sort of optimization training and support services that we offer. I'll talk a little bit later, I guess, on the other services that we have. But in a nutshell, that's us. And if we want to maybe put some numbers around that as well, which is always nice, by far we're the leading NetSuite partner in EMEA. We're servicing daily about more than 180 customers at the moment, if it's in new implementations, optimization project support across all these different countries that you've seen down there, and even more. At the moment, we're about with 55 people within Novutech. We like to call ourselves Novutechos. With different profiles in there. So we have obviously developers, we have functional people, we have business analysts, we have finance focused people. So we have a very good mix of people to be able to help your business and really drive your NetSuite implementation or optimization projects and get them to the right level that we need. These people are obviously also certified. So we, across the whole board, we have more than 60 NetSuite certification. And of course, that is a very diverse certification from the development suite cloud developers that are certified, the actual ERP consultants, the business analysts that have their suite foundations. We're very proud of the fact as well that we're not only having a lot of NetSuite consultants, but they're also actually NetSuite certified, and they actually know what they're doing, of course. Let's go to the topic of what we're going to talk about today, which of course is the NetSuite Analytics Data Warehouse. So the NetSuite Analytics Data Warehouse, or short NADW, is basically the NetSuite out-of-the-box data warehouse that NetSuite sort of offers. And it's not only a data warehouse, it's also an analytics platform. So as you can see on the right on the screenshot as well. So it's obviously the end goal of it, of course, is to be able to present data in a way that goes beyond, I guess, any other reporting tool that you might find in NetSuite. One of the key features, of course, it's a data warehouse, and that says it all. It obviously means that we're going to aggregate a lot of data from different sources into the data warehouse. So it will be, of course, your NetSuite data, but obviously we'll be also having a lot other data in there that we compare and that we can find patterns, look at insights to drive your growth of your business, look at forecasts that you might not be able to do with only your NetSuite data, that you need your other data in there. Having all that data available in this NetSuite Analytics Data Warehouse gives you the power to create some very powerful dashboards, some very powerful reports that will consolidate all that data together and give you a better view and insight of your business. To give you also a little sort of under the hood of what's actually the power beneath the NetSuite Analytics Warehouse. It's built up of a few different components, which I think are very important to know, that it's not only a presentation tool, so it doesn't only get data and puts it. It's always, of course, a very important layer of the NetSuite Analytics Warehouse is the presentation layer. It's, of course, the layer where all the dashboards are, where you'll be building in different projects, all your different reports and your different dashboards. But without the data layer, of course, these visualization won't be possible. So the data layer is a very important one. That's the actual data warehouse part of the solution, where all the different data will be stored in different tables and different views with different data flows, so that the data can also be reorganized and rearranged if needed. And I guess what we of course here today as well is to talk about that connectivity. So NetSuite Analytics Warehouse is not only to connect your NetSuite data, but it also has a lot of out-of-the-box connectors to connect any of your other data that you might have. You probably now are starting to ask the question: if there's already all these connectors in the NetSuite Analytics Warehouse, why do we need Celigo? Or why is Celigo even on this call? It's a very good question, which takes us, of course, to that next slide. Why NetSuite Analytics and Celigo? Of course, with Celigo, the list of connectors in NetSuite Analytics Warehouse is limited. It's also not super user-friendly, which of course with Celigo, we get data connectivity with 300 plus applications. As you will see later on in the demo as well, it will be demoed on how easy it is to basically have fast access to these flows, have real-time dashboard to see which data is going where. And you can also do these complex aggregations and complex logic that you might not be able to do directly in Celigo and push out, I guess, the raw data that is needed in your analytics warehouse from Celigo. There's some flows that are already set up and that will be shown by my colleague Adel from Celigo later on. So basically, Celigo could be used to indeed push any of your other data that is not NetSuite data, because as you can see on the bottom of the screen, the NetSuite, of course, comes with a built-in connector. So Celigo won't be to push in the NetSuite data into the data warehouse, because for that we already have a built-in connector that's available that will transfer all the data from NetSuite into the NetSuite Analytics Warehouse. Celigo really comes into play to really get all your other data sources and push that data into the Suite Analytics Warehouse. Let's look at some use cases now. So one of the use cases that we'll be discussing today is the power of a 360-degree customer view. We all have customer data sitting, of course, in NetSuite. In NetSuite, it will be your ERP financials, and it will have everything around your customer, probably your order management you're also doing in NetSuite. But there's so many other tools and platforms that you also store valuable customer data that is not always visible in your NetSuite, in your ERP. I think as examples of it could be indeed your project management you might be doing in a tool like Monday.com or any alternative. Your CRM you might be doing in a Salesforce or in a HubSpot application, which of course could be a lot of your potential new customers, or could be customers that could become your future customers. You can also, a lot of companies have, of course, their dedicated support desk, just like we at Novutech. We have our Jira platform, could be Zendesk, could be anything like it, to be able to communicate with your customer on any support topics, on any issues that arise. Again, all very valuable customer data that not necessarily sits in ERP, because it's not the place where it always needs to sit. But it's great that within NetSuite Analytics Warehouse, we can bring that all together into one analytics warehouse. And of course, we can create really one big customer 360 view of the world and find patterns about why certain sales are not going well, because maybe there's too many issues with the product or things like that. Another example is e-commerce. They get a lot of you also have an e-commerce platform like a Shopify, where again a lot of data is there, cart abandonment, anything like that, all data that is not really represented in your ERP system, but is very useful to also find patterns, have insights in your business, and really include in your customer 360 view, and have that all available in your NetSuite Analytics Data Warehouse, so you can actually get one really 360-degree customer view, not only on financials, but really on everything that sits around it. This is, of course, just as an example use case that we are going to look at as well later on in the demo with Adel. But there's, of course, so many more analytics warehouse use cases. Other use cases that I want to sort of quickly highlight that are interesting from an operation point of view could be your saving labor costs. If you have a a lot of data, I guess, around labor and around your scheduling and who does what might sit, around the workforce might sit in multiple tools, in multiple systems. And again, it will be great to bring all that data together and look at patterns on why things are not, I guess, either why a lot of time is spent on certain things, or how can you actually optimize that. Bringing all the data together and being able to report on that and bring patterns, obviously, would be a great advantage to be able to save of the labor cost in this example. Other things, I guess, maybe more marketing related, could be increasing your sales. Again, being able to analyze your sponsored ads or all your ads that you might have, or anything that you do promotion wise, to be able to then correlate that with the actual sales and maybe even with your inventory levels, to be able to forecast what you need and when you will need it. Is also a great way to be able to look at all that data that you have in your analytics warehouse, be able to report on it, and again, look at patterns, and that way increase your sales, or I guess get a better sort of stock control, so that you have the stock when you kind of need it and when you need to sell it. I'll highlight maybe one more example, and it's maybe around the manufacturing bit. If we think about manufacturing, again, the customers that do manufacturing, they have a lot of their processes that, of course, are maybe not reflected in the ERP system, that have their manufacturing tools, with of course built for purpose for a manufacturing thing. Again, if we can get all these metrics all together with the financial metrics, then again, you really get a single view of your business, to be able to really see the end-to-end manufacturing process and really have a look at where we're going with the different processes within that manufacturing. Where are we losing money? Where are we losing time? Where are we making money? What is going well? What's not going well? I think sometimes just having your NetSuite data is definitely not enough. So bringing all that data together into the NetSuite Analytics Warehouse definitely benefits you from having everything together in one place. I'll hand it over to Adel, because I've obviously talked now a lot about the NetSuite Analytics Warehouse. What can it do? What are the use cases? But what we also want to show, and there will be a live demo as well, is all that data. Brecht talks about data. Where is that data? Of course, the main question that people might already have is, how will that data ever get into the data analytics warehouse? And that's where I hand over to the colleague of Celigo, Adel, that will talk a little bit more about Celigo, and do us a bit of a presentation as well of what is possible in Celigo.
I appreciate that, Brecht. And yes, I'll take this opportunity to just highlight one important thing that Brecht said in his explanations here, which is really why even bother with Celigo. NetSuite Analytics Warehouse has direct connectivity to many different applications. Well, consider this. Those are essentially starting points. You really want to leverage the platform, in this case, the Analytics Warehouse platform, for well beyond and to exercise full capability that it has. You'll want to centralize the management of the data flowing from one system to another, or from several different systems, as we saw in those different use cases, to your data hub, in this case, the NSAW, or NetSuite Analytics Warehouse. Now, in order to do that, you want to separate or segregate your concerns and responsibilities. And that's where having a separate middleware platform is crucial. Among other things, it allows you to control how the data is flowing, how frequently, cut down some of that data as well. You maybe don't need all of it in the analytics warehouse, maybe subsets of that. And we'll also see what happens when you want to bring some of that data out of the warehouse and back into your business systems. You might be thinking, why do we need to do that? Well, if you're analyzing that data, maybe you're slicing and dicing in a certain way, you then want to provide that insight back to the operational teams that are working in different business systems. Now, all of this can only truly be done properly using a middleware platform. And that's really what Celigo is, an integration platform for automating several different processes. One example of that being pipelining of information from different business systems to the warehouse and then back to the business systems. Now, from a Celigo perspective itself, we are what's known as an integration platform as a service, industry standard nowadays. Essentially what we do is application integration and of course data integration as well. So that first circle that you see there, we've already covered. We've been doing this for quite some time now, for quite a few years in fact. And now what we're already introducing this year, we've released already, is the extended integration platform that allows to do such things as data ingestion, B2B integrations as well. So think of the likes of EDI, as well as other file types for that matter. And last but certainly not least, API management as well. Now, granted, these are much broader than just the analytics side of things. However, it's important to know, especially if you're going to be investing in a middleware platform, to know the vision that the company has. What direction are they actually taking? And this is ours, really. We want to become the process automation platform, the chosen automation platform, particularly for the mid-market, middle and upper mid-market, for essentially automating several different business processes. And that essentially is fancy talk to say integrations between several different systems. Okay? Now, the idea is in the long term, and here long term, knowing how technology works is not 10 years, but rather 2 years, for example, 2 to 5 years. The intention is really to have that process automation platform covering not only the iPaaS side of things, not only the extended integration platform, but also the process automation side, which includes human interactions. Think of business process management and human workflows involved within the integrations. Process mining for optimization, so the platform being able to provide you advice on how to optimize your different business processes as well from a technology perspective. And then, of course, RPA, which has been around for some time, but bringing that all into one central place, eliminating the need to have several different systems, ultimately doing similar things. All of that, of course, supported by artificial intelligence, which nowadays is a given, has to be included in any particular system. Now, that's a brief potted history. Of course, if you want to know more about Celigo as a company and understand more about what we do, as well as the platform itself, I do encourage you to reach out, of course, directly to ourselves or alternatively to our Novutech team as partner as well. We're happy to collaborate and being able to explain to you how all of that works. Speaking of how does it all work, I'll now ask our team in the background to switch over to the other screen share so that I can demonstrate what the platform actually is. Thank you very much, team. So we do have a team here in the background supporting us, which is very, very nice. And thank you for that, ladies. All right, so this is the Celigo platform. Now, in the interest of time, I will focus very much on the analytics warehouse pieces. Just know that there's plenty more out there that can be done. Just a bit of an illustration of what is in fact the use case here. So we've got several different examples of what you might be doing from a context perspective. In this case here, let's say we're automating perhaps leads or even quote to cash, for example. That's all already done. How do we pipeline that information from the CRM? In this case, HubSpot is the choice. How do we pipeline that over to the analytics warehouse in a controlled fashion? Now, within Celigo, all of this is essentially flows of information, and you can name these whatever you need to. And of course, you can schedule these to be certain presets. So things like having a frequency of once a week, once a day, all the way down to every 15 minutes. This is crucial. And again, one of the reasons why you would use a platform like this is to control this. And you don't want to keep pipelining everything every hour. Perhaps it makes sense to do it once a day in the early days. And then once the volume is very high, then you can start to do that twice a day, 5 times a day, whatever the use case might be. Okay, so you have that control here, click of a button, and it's all ready for you. Of course, then you have the ability to switch on and off specific flows that you might need, again, just by toggling the buttons here, and you can quickly identify which ones are online, which ones are offline. Let's say you're making modifications to it, perhaps you want to switch that offline and test things first, and then bring it back online once it is ready. Now, speaking of which, what does a flow actually look like? Essentially, it's a series of steps. In this example here, it's a very simple example. It's just taking the deals, or if you were using Salesforce, for example, it'd be the opportunities, or any other CRM has the equivalent of that. We're retrieving that information, and we're going to be then pushing that into the NSAW. In this case, we're not making any significant changes to the data. All we're really doing, if I open up this step here, you will see that very easily. We're just using a batch, pushing that into a particular table, in this case called HubSpot deals. And this is directly within the NSAW. So from here, this is one of the key things that's important to highlight about the Celigo capability. We can see all of the different tables that have been created in NSAW. Very crucial here because you don't have to make any guesses. You don't necessarily have to use code. You can, if you want to use SQL, you can do that, of course. But the idea is if we're making it straightforward for data analysts to use, for example, we want to provide all the bells and whistles needed to make life very easy. So that's something we can easily do here. And as you can see, as I scroll down, there are several different tables in the particular Analytics Warehouse instance that I have access to here. Okay. Now, once again, this is just choosing the actual table itself. In terms of modifying the data, again, we're not doing a lot here necessarily, and that is by design. We're using what's known as an ELT approach, so extract, load, and then transform. So the larger transformation would be done directly within the data warehouse in this case, facilitating the ability of the data analyst to control exactly how that's done. All we're doing here is taking the details, in this case again, from HubSpot, transforming that into a bit more readable structure to be pushed into the analytics warehouse. Now, this process repeats itself for several different object types, as they're known, from the different business systems that you might be using. Again, HubSpot being an example of a CRM, it could be that you're taking data from a payment gateway, from your own internal system. So if you're a SaaS business and you have your own system in-house, for example, and again, we can access that in several different ways and push the data into the warehouse itself for further analysis, reporting, and of course, segregation as needed. Now, if we look at another example of what they might be, so let's say we're talking about a non-SaaS, but rather a commerce example, then again, it will be a similar scenario. And in fact, Brecht actually mentioned this example when he was explaining things. Let's say you've got an abandoned cart in Shopify and you want to start to analyze a bit more why that happened, what was the actual item or set of items that were abandoned in this case, when did it happen, which customer, if you wanted to analyze that, or perhaps get demographic information about that. So again, these things, it's only possible to do once you've pushed enough information into a centralized warehouse, or data warehouse in this case, or a data lake. And ultimately, in this case here, very similar to the previous example, we're taking data from several different places, in this case from Shopify, and we're pushing that all into the NSAW side of things. Now, if I collapse this, you'll see we've got two examples here from different stores, for example. So if we needed to push, let's say you're selling across 3, maybe even 4 or 5 different countries, or potentially different regions across the world, then again, you'll have multiple stores. We can bring all of that in to NSAW. Similar fashion, you've seen already the NSAW side of things, but just to give you a contrast and show you that this is really a repetitive pattern. Again, same here. We're just taking the data from Shopify in this case, transforming it into something a little bit easier to push across, cutting down any unnecessary elements to reduce the amount of data that's being pushed into the warehouse itself, making it again easier for the analyst or analysts that you might have, or data scientists, to do what they need to do with said data. Okay. Now on the Shopify side, just to illustrate things here, it's also a point and click or drag and drop, depending on what you're trying to do. There's no code. This is meant to be a low to no code platform. The idea is you can write code if you want to, but primarily use the features which are out of the box, what I call the building blocks of the actual platform. It makes life a lot easier nowadays. And this is the standard that we're all going towards when it comes to integrations. There's no point in reinventing the wheel. Just leverage what the vendors would have, in this case, Celigo specifically. Okay. Now, one final example that I will show you before giving you a bit more detail on the platform is, I did mention it before, let's say you're wanting to bring some of that data out of the analytics warehouse in this case, and push that into the business systems. As a reminder, the use case here might be that you want to push that to your operational teams. A common example, let's say you've got your customer success teams or your support teams, and you want to give them a bit more information so that they can reach out to customers. Even sales teams could benefit from that data, understanding what is the behavior of the customers that you might have. That sort of analytics can only really be done by pushing the data back into the operational side of things. It's a bit like saying, we've done the analysis, we've made some conclusions, let's share this with some of the operational team, or team members, so that they can action upon that. And that's exactly what's going on here in this particular example. Very straightforward and a basic example, just to get you to understand exactly what's going on there. So here we're just taking data from the analytics warehouse. We are using Zendesk on the other side, which is a support system. Again, just as an illustration, it could be a customer success platform or customer data platform such as Gainsight. It could be any other support system. It could even be Jira. If you're using that for project management, for example, you might have that. Of course, it can also be your ERP, for example. If you're using NetSuite as an ERP, naturally it makes sense to use something like that to push across the data. And of course, it could be your CRM as well if you're using that to centralize the data. Again, this is just to illustrate that within a middleware platform such as Celigo, you really have more control over the flow of the information, which directions, where is it getting from, how do you enrich the data before it reaches the target or the destination. These are things which, with the direct connectors that Brecht mentioned before in NSAW, is really, really difficult to get to that. And in some cases, perhaps even impossible to get really to what you need to. It's not really feasible to do it that way. Now, final thing I will highlight about Celigo specifically is the fact that this is meant to be a set and forget platform. So ideally, you don't really have to keep this open constantly. You do have a dashboard, of course, to see additional information of what's going on. And of course, then notifications. So you can subscribe just as you would to subscribe to newsletters. Same principle here. You essentially subscribe to the flows. Platform will notify you in the event of errors. And then the last thing here, just to wrap things up, and then I'll hand over back to Brecht in a moment. The fact that we have connectors to many, many different systems, well beyond what NSAW has. In fact, now the number is 430 plus applications. So basic universal systems such as databases, as well as just generic connectors, we have those. Of course, the more interesting one is the actual business system. So there's plenty of those. I do encourage you to reach out to find more information about this. Again, directly with the Novutech team or with Celigo, and even signing up for a trial so you can experiment with the platform itself. Now, on that note, I will ask the team to give us the share screen of the deck itself now, so we can just progress on from there. And the final thing I will add here is, I do always encourage anyone that I speak with to not only take our word for it, it's important to do your research, of course. And this is what you see here, what our customers are saying about us, in this case, Celigo. And these are not paid reviews, mind you. These are actual reviews that customers have left, both on G2 as well as Gartner's peer insights. So I do encourage you to go and have a look there and see what has been the benefits that customers have seen in using Celigo for their several different use cases that they have seen. Now, at this point here, I think I'll hand over back to Brecht to give us a bit more insights about where do we go from here.
Thank you. Thank you, Adel. Indeed, so there's obviously a beyond the NetSuite Analytics Warehouse with Novutech. So of course, as I said before, it's not the only service that we offer in there. I do want to mention something maybe I haven't mentioned. The NetSuite Analytics Warehouse is indeed a paid module of NetSuite, so it's not something that comes standardly in your license. So if you look into your NetSuite account tomorrow, you won't be able to find it into a little feature that you enable. So it is something that you will need to request, I guess, a license for. We can obviously help with that with Novutech. We can guide you in that process of what's involved with getting a license in there, because it's obviously you get a whole new platform. So it's not like any of the reports or anything, it's not like the reporting that you have inside the platform. It's really a whole platform that you will get beyond NetSuite, where you'll be able to do all your reports in there. Does not come into your standard NetSuite license. Beyond what we do at Novutech, and this is sort of to highlight as well the services that we offer and that we give to a lot of our customers. We do a lot of management consulting these days as well, which can go from simple NetSuite advisory of advising our leading practices within NetSuite. It can also go into health checks. We have a lot of customers that might have been using NetSuite for the last 10 years. I want to have a bit of a clear view of what are we doing right and what are we doing wrong, or what can we do better. So we do a lot of these ones as well. Of course, we offer lots of NetSuite services, as I probably already mentioned before, so I won't be going into that one too much detail, but a lot of new implementations, a lot of support and optimization. Some of you might have already heard as well about our Novo packs. So I guess our Novo packs are sort of to scale faster and for us as well to really get the implementation going a lot quicker. They can go from localizations to bank connectivity to intercompany processes. There's a lot of them that we've already developed and that are out there to be able to use in new implementation, but also, of course, existing customers can, of course, leverage as well of that one. Or if you're going to go into a country like Belgium or France, and they're not as easy to localize sometimes, we already have a pack for it, basically, and we've done it a few times. So we sort of pack them all up so we can roll it out into your business, into one of these countries. Of course, sitting here today, and we've talked a lot about integration and iPaaS. So one thing that we see, I guess, with most of our NetSuite customers is that they have lots of different platforms that they want to integrate. So yeah, it's obviously logical that that's also a big of our focus now, to work together with Celigo, implement Celigo, or be a partner of Celigo, or even point to point. You know, in some cases, indeed, there are definitely scenarios where you don't need an integration platform, where a point-to-point connection is better. And again, we have a whole development team basically that's ready to be able to cover those developments that are needed from NetSuite or from other applications. More and more we see as well is that the ecosystem of NetSuite is only growing. It keeps on giving, I guess I would say, and more we obviously rely heavily on our partners. You know, on the integration, like it might be Celigo, but there's of course a lot of other suite apps out there, and partners that we work closely together. Like Zone Apps is probably one that you probably know, and most customers probably have one or two apps of them that they offer. So we really rely on those partners as well, and we can really help as well to find the best partner, the best solution for your needs, and work together with that partner to be able to support your complex business process that you might have that might not be able to be supported by NetSuite alone, and an extra app could be needed for those ones. And last but not least, complex billing. I think every business has their way of how they invoice, how they bill, how they measure, I guess, what they should be invoicing or what they should be billing. So this is, I guess, again, one of our things that we now do more and more is give best practices or leading practices on complex billing solution with NetSuite. It goes from, I guess, the NetSuite suite billing, so the NetSuite subscriptions, all the way to, I guess, a NetSuite Zone Billing, which is a suite app, or integrating with other billing tools. I think of Salesforce CPQ, for example, integrating that data into NetSuite so that obviously you can manage your subscription and contracts in other systems, and then manage them in NetSuite, be able to invoice them, be able to do all the complex revenue recognition in NetSuite. And for those ones, for example, we obviously also leverage Celigo for those ones. They have a lot of out-of-the-box sort of connectors available, and even integration apps that we also leverage to be able to connect your billing tools to NetSuite, to be able to really have an automated flow of your contracts, your billing information going into NetSuite, and that, of course, NetSuite can report correctly on your financials, even send out the invoices, and have your whole billing process streamlined. So even though it might not, the whole billing process might not be sitting in NetSuite, we are also there to, I guess, really manage and give advice on your full order to cash flow, on your end-to-end sort of when the order comes in or when the subscription comes in, all the way through of when the cash needs to be collected. And that leads us to almost our last slide, which is a bit of a question and answers. One of the questions, indeed, like I said already, was around the fact if analytics is it paid or not. So that one I just covered, indeed, that it is a module, and that we will indeed that we can obviously you will need to get a quote from NetSuite, and we can help you with that. Not sure if there's any other questions or comments that people have that have been watching this webinar. Obviously,
there are no questions, then maybe it's because everything was clear.
Indeed. So obviously there could be questions for Adel as well. There could be questions directly for me. To anything that you still have, please do put it into the chat. If not, we might go on to the final slide, unfortunately, already for today, which is thank you for joining us today, of course. It was great having you guys all. Thank you, Adel, as well, for co-hosting with me. We also want to make it clear that, of course, this should not be the end of it. You can obviously contact us at welcome@novutech.com, reach out to us with maybe additional questions that you were not able to ask today, or with any interest that you have on the NetSuite Analytics Warehouse. If you're interested in maybe a more detailed demo of the platform of the NetSuite Analytics Warehouse, please do reach out, and we can set up a more personalized demo. Today, the focus, of course, was more on how can Celigo help? How do you get the data into the NetSuite Analytics Warehouse? But we can, of course, also do extra demos and do things on there to see what the power of the NetSuite Analytics Warehouse can really bring and really give to you. Any questions, of course, for Celigo? If you are interested in Celigo, feel free to reach out to Adel to be able to get more information, maybe to get a personalized demo on Celigo. I'm sure they can help you with that one as well. There is another question that I've just seen from Maxime that maybe I can answer because we still have a bit of time. The question here is on the screen indeed. You can create like the data that sits in the NetSuite data warehouse. There are process flows, so you can actually build also on top of just the raw data that you've got. You can actually manage that data, so it's not just a data warehouse that's static and you store it in. So there are also routines that you can really transform that data into extra tables, or with complex formulas to be able to aggregate that data in multiple ways to be able to then visualize it in a better way. So you definitely don't see it as a static data warehouse. There's definitely routines or workflows, whatever you want to call them, to be able to optimize that data before you can then properly visualize it. I'm not sure, Adel, if you want to add something to that.
I completely agree with you on that, Brecht. And in fact, this is where the ELT comes into play, that T, the transformation of that process. That's where these workflows, these approaches within the warehouse itself are crucial. So yes, completely agree. By no means is it static in any way. That's where it differentiates from other warehouse technologies. It really is a packaged solution which encompasses, of course, the storage of the data, the processing of the data, the transformation layers, and then, of course, then the presentation side of things.
Thank you, Maxime. I hope that was clear. If there's no other questions, then I think maybe this is probably a good time to close off this webinar, unless, Adel, you have some final words or final wisdom for today.
Not for today. I think we'll save the wisdom for another time, right?
Thank you. Thank you very much for joining us today, and we hope to see you again into another webinar soon.
Indeed. Speak soon. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.